Was Travis Dhanraj too bold a voice for CBC? I'm Terry Newman for NP Comment, and I have with me today Anthony Koch, Principal Manager for AK Strategies, to discuss. Thanks for being here today, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.
So a little background for those who don't know. On Monday, CBC's Travis Dhanraj tendered his resignation. He sent two emails, one to CBC leadership and another to CBC staff, an internal email. In the email to CBC leadership, he said, "I am stepping down, not by choice, but because the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation has made it impossible for me to continue my work with integrity. When I joined CBC, I did so with a clear understanding of its mandate and a belief in its importance to Canadian democracy. I was told I would be a bold voice in journalism. I took that role seriously. I worked to elevate underrepresented stories, expand political balance, and uphold the journalistic values Canadians expect from their public broadcaster." So was Danraj too bold a voice for CBC?
Yeah, and more so than I think that he was a bold voice, I think if you do look for the very brief period of time where they actually did allow his show to be on the air, and with him as the host, he was able to get the kind of guests that no other CBC broadcaster, and I won't name them for obvious reasons, either didn't have the willingness to invite, or in the event where they did, the invitee wouldn't have the interest in going on their show. And I'm talking specifically right now about the ability that he had to get high-quality conservative commentators, whether that's actual elected official or otherwise, on his show, to express opinions in a relatively free-flowing way that I guess CBC just wasn't kosher with.
Right, and this matches up with what his lawyer said. So his lawyer, Catherine Marshall, said on Monday that the CBC didn't want him booking conservative voices on his show, something that I think a lot of Canadians have been realizing for a long time. She said CBC, when they hired him, thought that they were getting someone who would espouse a certain worldview. I think they looked at him and they looked at the color of his skin and they made some assumptions. Now, I'm guessing that CBC executives can't be happy about this. The Conservative Party ran on defunding the CBC due to an anti-conservative bias, at least CBC, English CBC. And now they have a senior reporter coming out saying this as well.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to get into the racial dynamics things here. I don't think it's my wheelhouse per se. But I will say, from what I've been hearing, it's two-pronged. One, it's an insistence on allowing conservative viewpoints to be heard. But the other one was jealousy on behalf of other broadcasters on the fact that this guy, who was supposed to be, third or fourth rung in the hierarchy of senior CBC broadcasters, was actually able to book the kind of people, and the other broadcasters felt slighted and said, well, they should be coming on our shows long before they come on yours. So like every institution, CBC's no exception. There's internal politics, career-wise, political-wise, whatever, and I think that's really what it gets down to. And you saw even yesterday, they're trying to play these games now where they're saying, what are you talking about? We haven't fired Travis Dhanraj. He's still on our staff. So now we're going to get into the sort of legalese PR battle stage of this fight. But I think it's not a surprise to see the outpouring of support that our friend Mr. Danraj has received from conservatives.
Right, yes. And as you pointed out, so CBC told his lawyer, Catherine Marshall, that they were not accepting his resignation, apparently because he quit on leave. So that's very interesting. And CBC themselves reported on their story online saying that they reject the accusations that Danraj has made and call them an attack on the integrity of CBC News.
Yeah, that's an attack on the integrity of CBC News. I'm sure the fact that he decided to do some news coverage and some personal commentary on CBC CEO Catherine Tate had nothing to do with it too.
Right. So he does point out that he was asked to sign an NDA. And the reason for that is he had sent out a very polite tweet explaining that he had asked Catherine Tate to come on his show to discuss the very rich bonuses that were being paid to CBC executives. And she declined. And his email itself is very polite. But this, I guess, this was a faux pas for him to, point the camera at this situation, or even suggest that this might be something that needed to be discussed by CBC.
100%, right? The CBC and broadcasters or the media in general in this country is supposed to hold people to account. It just seems like they didn't think that they fit in to that broader picture of institutions and individuals who should be held to account.
Right, and this isn't the first complaint that about CBC bias that has happened. Tara Henley left CBC for a similar reason, and she also commented on the same race dynamics that Travis has. He accused the CBC of performative diversity, tokenism, a system designed to elevate certain voices and diminish others. And when she left, she said, to work at the CBC is now to accept the idea that race is the most significant thing about a person, and that some races are more relevant to the public conversation than others. It is in my newsroom to fill out racial profile forms for every guest you book, to actively book more people of some races and less of others. So this is now, it's one thing for it to come from Tara Henley, who's a white woman, and now from Danraj of Caribbean descent. So do you think that this might have CBC executives a bit worried at this point?
Maybe, but I think at the end of the day, the CBC audience and sort of where they place themselves in the broader spectrum of government organizations, they're not unique in this respect, right? This is the ideological illness that has infected damn near every government or government-adjacent institution in this country for the better part of the last decade and a half. So, are they maybe among the chief most egregious practitioners of this? Perhaps, but I don't see the CBC as particularly being an outlier in this respect. They're just very much another one of those institutions who's got caught up in this revolutionary ideological fervor that we've all been subjected to as a society for the better part, like I said, the last decade and a half.
Right. With the CBC having the very specific, particular situation of during the election campaign, covering the Conservatives and the Liberals, with the Conservatives promising to defund English CBC and the Liberals promising an $150 million raise or improvement to the CBC. So, and having to cover that election. So we have both the kind of race dynamics that don't seem to fit what they seem to say in their mandate, and their conservative bias once again on display. During the election campaign itself, I don't know if you watched it, Anthony, but you can almost see the moment when they were kind of relieved, right? And as they would be, their jobs were protected as soon as there was a liberal minority.
Nobody wants to get fired. And I think that's something that everybody, regardless of political persuasion, industry, or otherwise, can be understanding of. And I do want to be fair. There are actually professionals and very decent people with journalistic integrity who do work at CBC. I think this is more a problem by and large. There's definitely some people for whom my description does not apply. But I think the most egregious problems at that institution are found at the top from people who aren't journalists per se, but are at the executive level and sort of dictate how coverage and things are supposed to be done and handle more of the hiring and firing capacity. But there are good CBC journalists, and I think any honest conservative would tell you very much the same.
Absolutely. I see the same. So it is a higher, even Travis Dhanraj pointed this out himself, it seems to be a higher level problem, and that's where reform would come from in the first place. And, this begs the question, will CBC ever learn that their broadcasting is alienating half the country? Their mandate itself, if you take a look at it on the website, it says a lot of things about being multiracial and about language communities, and about a shared consciousness, shared national consciousness and identity, and being distinctly Canadian, and focusing on certain regions, much like their programming does, but nothing about ideological diversity. So I wonder if there are going to be more whistleblowers about this, and what will it take? Do you think that would bring in reform?
Quite honestly, under this government and under these circumstances, I don't see any real opportunity for reform. I think in a hypothetical different scenario where we would have been living under a conservative government, there would have been opportunity for all sorts of things. Forget just the defunding component, but a refocusing of the institution towards things where it would actually be mostly helpful. But in terms of me having any hopes or dreams at this current moment in time of them cleaning up shop, I think I'm not unique among conservatives in saying that I don't have high hopes.
Yeah, I think that is a shared sentiment. So I want to thank you for joining me today here, Anthony, and I want to thank everyone else for watching.
Thanks for having me again.
Thanks.